We are going to return now to one of our top stories. Canada and its allies have committed to a spending target of 5% of GDP by 2035. That is more than double the current goal of 2% and the biggest boost since the Second World War. Following all of this closely is Christiane Amanpour. She, of course, is CNN's chief international anchor and the host of Amanpour. So, Christiane, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate your time.
Good to be with you, Hillary. It's important times, in fact.
And let's start, of course, if we can, with that 5% spending commitment from NATO allies. There was quite an exchange at one point today between the U.S. president and reporters from Spain because Spain has said that it will not meet that target on time. So given the U.S. President Trump has praised the spending hike, how much of this increase do you think was really just about appeasing him?
Well, I think a lot was in order to get him to, have a good summit. They really did shape the summit around the key issues that President Trump is involved, rather than having a much wider agenda. And this was what they delivered. And in fact, Secretary General Rutte of NATO, as you know, because of the posted comments that Trump got from him, he really wanted to make sure that this was going to be a successful summit. So I spoke to your own Prime Minister, Mark Carney, yesterday, just before the meetings, and he said, it amounted to some $150 billion per year for Canada, given Canada's GDP, and it's a lot, but he acknowledged that Canada and the rest of the allies have to jumpstart and increase defense spending. Whether or not they can do all that in 10 years is going to be difficult, perhaps, but they have to at least aim for it, because they know that the United States, at least under this administration, is very clear that it doesn't want to keep footing the bill. But leaders have said some of that 5% is also about the kind of spending that's necessary for your own domestic spending as well. So, I don't fully understand all those bits, but that's for sure. Now, some countries like Spain flat out refuse and say they cannot. The question is, will that lead to a viral, fallout of other countries saying, well, if Spain can't, well, then we can't. So I think, we've got to wait and see how it goes. But everybody knows that they have to step up because the threats are real from Russia and elsewhere. And if the Americans are not going to help, then Europeans have got to figure out, and the other NATO members like Canada, how to help themselves.
Well, of course, as you say, Donald Trump sort of looming large over the whole NATO summit. He is departing the NATO summit as we speak right now. We see these images of him, live images, about to get on board Air Force One and head back to the U.S. If we can, we would like to talk to you a little bit more about your interview yesterday with the Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney. Wondering what your main takeaways were from that in regards to that Canada-U.S. relationship, and how do you think Carney sees his role in the world now when it comes to that Canada-U.S. relationship?
Well, I did talk to him about that, obviously, and I said, you appear to be the new Trump whisperer. You guys text, you talk about substance, the tariffs, and all these other things. I cheekily said, did he threaten again to, annex Canada? And he said, no. And I think Prime Minister Carney has established a very professional relationship with President Trump. He, as I say, obviously passed the Oval Office test with flying colors, and it seems to have, given him a good working relationship with, after all, the president of the only world superpower right now, who does wield a lot of power, and the results are really very, very particular to each country and whether he gets on with each country's leader. But beyond that, Prime Minister Carney said that there were many, many issues that both countries had in common and had to deal with. And he also said, look, I've just come from Brussels, Belgium, where I signed a major cooperation deal with our European allies. And that was not to ice out the U.S., but to really acknowledge that now, with this president, they had to figure out, because he's thrown it at them now, they have to figure out how to pick up the pieces and work together to really create their own economic interest, their own defense and security interest, always saying, as Carney did to me, we want to work with the United States, but if we can't on certain issues, we must have a strong alliance of our own. So on that regard, I think he was very clear about the relationship with the U.S.
Christiane, we are going to leave it there for today. We really do appreciate your time, being so generous with it. Thank you so much for coming and speaking with us. We hope we'll speak again.
Thank you. Thank you, Hillary. Bye.
Christiane Amanpour, of course, is CNN's chief international anchor and host of Amanpour.